Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Transfer Portal Podcast presented by NoContextCFB. And today we're going to bring you a review of everyone's favorite week of college football, Rivalry Week. You know, we hate every team that we play, and unfortunately that week's over, but we got a lot to talk about. And it's not even just the games. A lot has happened in the last 24 hours about the coaching carousel. You know, regular season just ended, and it seems like we're already, like, everybody's moving. Nobody's staying where they were 48 hours ago. So let's just kind of jump into that. Today, I'm going to be your host. We got Adam, Doug, and Andrew, and we're going to just kind of jump into this because there's a lot of news to talk about. How are you guys doing?
Pissed.
Good.
Rightfully so. Adam, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Everything's good over here. All my teams won. Oklahoma and Texas A&M lost. So it's a good week.
Great to hear.
Perfect day for him.
Texas won, Houston won, Minnesota won, Georgia won. Yeah, that's about
Houston.
it. Houston. Let's just get straight into the coaching. I don't even want to talk about Michigan, Wisconsin too much at the beginning. Coaching. So I look at my phone the other day and I see Lincoln Riley. I was so like on the train of why would he leave Oklahoma? And then I see he's going to USC. I didn't even think about USC as a potential landing spot. I thought it was LSU or bust if he was going to leave. But I don't know what the heck went into that. Apparently he saw a text from USC late night after beating or losing to Oklahoma State. He got beat. And essentially there was a Zoom call apparently, and he's gone now. So he's no longer in Oklahoma. He's in sunny California. So upgrades, people, upgrades. And if anybody's seen the contract, or not even the contract, just what he's getting to coach at USC, it is freaking insane. So I want to say it's 110 mil guaranteed. He's getting 24/7 use of a private jet. They're buying his homes in Oklahoma for like $500K over the asking price. I don't know why we're even going to that extent. Like, why does he need the extra money? You just gave him 110 mil guaranteed. And I mean, apparently he might get like the Hollywood sign in his backyard. I don't know what's going on with USC. So what do you guys think about this? Because I think it's kind of insane what's going on in the last 48 hours.
All in.
It's a good move.
I like the move. I'm shocked.
It's a good move for USC. I mean, the greatest thing about Lincoln Riley is that we get to constantly make fun of him that he's never won a playoff game. Quite frankly, I don't think USC is too worried about that, basically on where they want to go. If you're looking at USC, your main objective is to beat out Oregon in the Pac-12 championship. That should be your main goal. And I think USC can already had a bit of a notation that LSU we're going to go in for him. So why not? Look, it's a rich university. Okay, I guarantee you, all this money that they're paying him, paying for all these houses, essentially giving him free use of a private jet. This is probably almost pennies to the university, to be honest with you. It's an expensive university. They can afford this. And I just think if you're Lincoln Riley, why not go for it at this point? I feel like whenever you're at USC, you kind of already go in with the pedigree that you have. He's going to have a good recruiting mark in that area. LA area recruiting has been crazy. This is a really good move. There's really nothing you can hate. You can hate the way he left. I mean, I promise you, if I was an Oklahoma AD, chancellor, president, whatever the hell it is over there, I'd be pretty pissed off right now. But fair play to Lincoln. Go where you think the situation's better. I feel like at this point with Oklahoma, may not like to hear this, but I feel like he's essentially already reached his peak with Oklahoma. You already know what you're going to get out of Oklahoma every year. You're unfortunately just not going to be the top guys over your Georgia, Clemson, Alabama, as much as you'd like to believe it. Go to USC where you can build an actual foundation. You can get a good foot in the recruiting market. And guess what? You get to leave the Dust Bowl of Oklahoma and go to Sunnyside Beach, California. I don't see how he loses here.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with Andrew. I think this is the best move for both sides. USC is a big school. You know, it's easily the biggest school on the West Coast, in my opinion. So they get their big name. Lincoln Riley was probably going to be and have some NFL offers too. So good for him. Oklahoma's about to move to the SEC. He's going to be outshadowed by Nick Saban or LSU, Georgia. You know, good for his brand. Fair move for both sides. I think he'll do well there. You know, it's the Pac-12, so it's going to be a lot of opportunity for him to have his own brand, his own market. They're probably going to win a lot of games. Hopefully they do, because I think college football is better when USC is winning.
So my first viewpoint is that I get it. Like, it made sense. Like, Lincoln's been recruiting out west a lot. It's just easier for him, for everybody, at least, to go to USC. Like, you don't have to worry about, at least with the pressure of being natty or bust with given his contract in that division, let alone conference, in that division, depending on realignment. But yeah, you'd have those added stakes. While USC, they're starting further off back. Like, it's going to be New Year's 6, or it's going to be a minimum like Pac-12 South, at least like the first year or two, and then it's going to gradually build up. But LSU is going to be expected to win more right away. Do I think it's also, do you think it's a better cultural fit for Lincoln? Because I don't think that he necessarily can deal with the Deep South. But then also, finally, my final point with him, I think I'm not sure how you'll deal with the USC boosters. Like, that's a whole different environment. It isn't like that as bad in Oklahoma. I mean, LSU gives its whole set of issues like we've seen in the past with the Coach O search, but like, this is USC, and USC has fucking money. LSU also has fucking money because they offer Brian Kelly $100 million, but USC has literal fucking money. Like, the other schools probably have more fucking money, or the Texas schools because Texas, and then Michigan, most likely, and Alabama because they'll pony up whatever for Saban. But yeah, but it's just cleaner fit, easier fit, smart for him, smart for LSU, that Lincoln went to USC instead of going to LSU.
Yeah, I like the move for Lincoln. I'm just kind of, I'm still shocked. It's kind of, it's also to the point of like recruiting. When you think of SoCal, you think of amazing quarterbacks. So many quarterbacks have come out of SoCal in the last few years. You've got your Bryce Youngs, your Uyungaleles. There's a lot of guys, but they just don't end up staying in SoCal or even in the Pac-12. They go to your Bamas, your Clemsons, your OUs, your Ohio States, and Lincoln has a chance to like keep some of those guys. So not only does he have a chance to help USC rise, not only in the Pac-12 South, which they should be able to win, with how kind of everything is. I mean, Utah's a good program, but USC realistically should always have a recruiting hold on everybody in the Pac-12 South with where they are and the program that they are. But they should be able to also like hinder other programs in the country from getting these amazing talents from SoCal. So I think it's not only a great move for USC, I think it's both good for their program and bad for every other program, which I think is a win-win-win for everybody involved at USC. And like everybody else touched on, they have a lot of money. They probably don't care about this little amount of money to them. They have whatever the heck they want, pretty much, since they are in SoCal. They're boosters. They're everything with USC. It's an expensive school to go to. So I'm sure they do not care about that. Let's go on to a more recent move. Brian Kelly to LSU. Who the heck saw that coming?
I did not. I actually said when Tracer Porter was tweeting about it, I was like, it doesn't make sense. Like, I didn't think he'd get fired. I also don't think that it made sense for him to leave. And I still don't think it makes sense for him to leave. I mean, of course, they're offering $100 million. If they offered me $100 million, of course I'm going to leave. But in general, like, the job doesn't really make sense. Like, Brian Kelly hasn't coached in the South. The farthest South he's coached is actually Cincinnati. So funny, like, the whole issue with him is that he doesn't have those recruiting ties to the South. He doesn't have necessarily that. I wouldn't say Southern flavor because you can succeed without having a Southern flavor. Because Les Miles came from still Oklahoma State. Saban was at Michigan State, but then again, Saban has like pro. He had a pro pedigree, being defensive coordinator, and then Stillwater's a lot more closer cultural fit than South Bend and actually Cincinnati can because it's the other side of the river, but in general, but it's different. And they recruit differently in Notre Dame than they do at LSU. So Brian Kelly can coach, so I'm not really worried about him to coach. I just worry about him as everything else. Everything else. Like I'm not worried about his eye for picking a staff because after the 2016 season, he's picked out an amazing staff at Notre Dame. So like he's good at pretty much everything but like culture fit. And do I think that this raises LSU's ceiling in the past? No, because there always will be a New Year's Six team that makes an occasional playoff appearance, especially when it's in New Orleans. But I don't necessarily think that it's a bad hire. I think it's a neutral hire. But like I said, Brian Kelly's a good coach, so I'm not slandering him anyway. It's just he's not that ceiling raiser. But I also don't think that there's many ceiling raisers that existed this coaching cycle. So
I truthfully could not care less about this hire. I don't understand how it fits him culturally. I get the whole thing about like, hey, you know, you don't have to be from the South to have success at the Southern school, but I just don't understand how he fits. I mean, Brian Kelly is about the most Midwestern guy as you can imagine in a Midwestern guy. And him going to LSU, I don't think he has honestly the freedom that he would have while he was at Notre Dame because these LSU boosters and these people in the LSU athletics department, I don't really think that they're going to give him a long leash either. I mean, I don't know what this move really entails. I don't know how much freedom he's going to get at LSU compared to what he had at Notre Dame. This just feels like such a sideways move to me. But on the flip token, I don't know what more he could do at Notre Dame. At this point, it just feels like like a sightseeing change for him more than anything. And truthfully, like I said, I don't really care about how he does at LSU. It just feels such a meh move as a high level hire like this could be.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Andrew, that at Notre Dame, he's pretty much done ceiling there. I think he just wants to. This seems like it's like a move for me. He's trying to go to the SEC. He wins the SEC, kind of cement himself as one of the greatest coaches of all time. And as far as the cultural thing goes, yeah, he doesn't fit, but if he's winning football games, he'll be fine. I don't think LSU will ever have a problem getting recruits. He had a lot of recruiting restrictions at Notre Dame with the academic stuff. So really, we don't even know what he can really do. And yeah, he have a lot more freedom at LSU, obviously. So, and you know, it might just be a new scene, you know, that LSU needs because obviously didn't work with Ed and he fit the culture perfectly, in my opinion. But I think like I said, we all know he can coach. We'll see if he can really recruit. You have to recruit well in the SEC. Ask Dan Mullen. He'll tell you that you need to, but I think he'll be fine. I kind of I don't really care that much. I don't think it changes at all, but just, you know, more things to talk about.
Yeah, I think with this, LSU is kind of trading culture fit for winning. And in my eyes, I think that's a win for them because we saw Edo, he did 2019. That's what he did. Wasn't that really like fully his, you know, doing? We can debate about that. I don't fully think that's fully his doing. I think he got dealt an amazing hand and he played it well. But ever since then, he's not been good. You know, and wish him the best. Hope he has fun in, where is he going? Destin. But I think that LSU made I think that this is a good hire. I think that out of what they could have gotten, they went and got somebody who no one thought was going to be available. And realistically, I don't know who that is like currently looking for a job would be a much better hire when it comes to coaching than Brian Kelly. Now, you can have the questions about the recruiting, but like Adam talked about, there's always going to be those limitations with Notre Dame and recruiting because of academics, stuff like that. And now you're in Louisiana, which is one of the most talent-rich states in the country. I still expect LSU to have top classes every year. I don't think that this really hurts them. And especially, I mean, realistically, would you want to play for Brian Kelly or Ed Orgeron? I would personally want to play for Brian Kelly. I understand Edo may be the more, fun guy, the LSU, Baton Rouge, go Tigers. But Brian Kelly's going to know how to win football games. He's shown it in the past. Almost every single freaking year, he's won football games. And I really like this hire for LSU. But let's see what other coaching stuff has gone on. Dickert is getting the interim tag removed at Wazoo. What do we think of that? We think that's a good hire.
It's a stability hire. So this the way this cycle's gone on, Wazoo is definitely at the bottom of the Power Five totem pole in terms of attractiveness. So they did the smart thing, moved the interim tag off Dickert, who actually did pretty well considering all the messiness that's gone on in the coaching department with Rolo, dumbass, not getting that shot. But I digress. But that's what I was saying about Dickert and Wazoo. The main things, like I said earlier, is that due to the market of coaches, they're basically giving him, he's probably going to be the lowest P5 coach that's paid. And he's just going to be a holdover. If he does well, great. If not, you can cut bait in a year or two and bring in a new guy fresh with minimal financial compensation. I'd say that I could see them cut bait sooner because Rolo's suing them now. So I think the money's going to get tied up there. But if that gets resolved anytime soon and Dicker has a bad season, then yes, he's going to get the boot. So, but like I said, good stability hire. Not really expecting much from Wazoo in the next year or two just because of all that turmoil. But with the way they've performed, I'm not counting out a Cook Cup because Washington's generally was awful the whole entire season. Ignore an Apple Cup, but Wazoo's been treading water, punching above their weight. So I got to give them props.
Fun fact about Jake Dickert, he's a Wisconsin guy. To bet you guys didn't know that. This is truthfully about as good a hire as Wazoo could make. He's 3-2 since Rolovich was let go. There's really nowhere you can go wrong with this. This was a Wazoo team that was in a big mess. Dickert got them rallied up. They won. They've been winning. There was no reason for them to go elsewhere. That's truthfully about as blunt as you could put it.
Yeah, I mean, with Dickert, it's like, why change? What's working? I mean, he took in a program, not even just a team, a program that was kind of all over the place with that situation, and he put them in a situation where they were actually having a chance at winning the North in the last week of the season. So I think you got to give them props. And yeah, like Andrew said, there's no point in really changing all of that. You have anything to add, Adam?
No, I mean, like I said, just what they had to do. I'm not going to get any other, popular coaches, I guess, and just try and maintain. And if it doesn't work out, like Doug said, just retool in 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, what's the worst that can happen? I mean, I guess you could go 0-12, but they won't do that. Especially when
he gets fired, he gets let's go, and essentially Wazoo loses nothing out of it.
Yep.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, it's really a win-win. So, or it's a win-win neutral.
This is the definition of a very low risk but a very high reward. So there's that. I don't see any way how Wazoo loses out of this.
Let's stay in the state of Michigan or Michigan. My gosh, Washington. I don't
Need
know
a
why I
geography
said
lesson there,
Michigan.
buddy, or what's going on here?
Yeah, brother. The
I'm
Minnesota
tired.
education.
We're
Minnesota
talking we're
education is
talking
very
three
good.
we're talking 3 hour time zone difference. I mean, come on, dude. Like,
My bad. My bad. Let's stay in the state of Washington. Washington. Caitlin DeBoer gets hired from Fresno State to UW. I really don't.
Smart choice. Smart choice. Fresno State has been a very good offense this year. Washington's offense this year was not appropriate for television, to be nice about it. That's just it belonged to me more on Comedy Central than it did on ESPN. That is beside the point. Uh, he turned Jay Kaner into a really good quarterback, among the best quarterbacks in the Mount West, almost same level as Carson Strong. At this point with Washington, I'm sorry, anything's better than Jimmy Lake at this point, and they got a really good guy who was really who's on the same time zone, something that Andrew doesn't comprehend. But this is really about a good hire, really good fit. I think he can really turn around the culture. I think the next 2 years are going to be pretty slow for him, but I don't think that should be a reflection of his coaching. I think as long as Washington gives him a good, at least full recruiting cycle, I think he's going to have a really good situation there in Seattle.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a
I
good
think
hire.
that it's really important that I'm interested to see who his staff is. I don't think they've announced it yet, but he has a good staff around him. We have all the resources there in Washington and the Pac-12 North. It's up for grabs. So I agree with Andrew. I think that Smart is kind of a new change of direction from Jimmy Lake, which was a complete disaster from the start. So yeah, I like it as well. They're 3 for 3.
Yeah, no, like Adam said, the Pac-12 North is pretty open. You have a good Oregon State program, an Oregon program that might lose their head coach, but even if they don't, they cannot finish. They've been awful this year, even though they only have few losses, but they're awful.
Two.
Sorry, Dylan, but but yeah, so you have a decent Oregon State program, overrated Oregon program. The less said about Cal and Stanford, the better. They're they're just a disgrace. Um, and then you got Wazoo, who again's the only coaching to fall out, and then you have UW. So Washington, if things go well with DeBoer, I do think that they can sneak in to a conference championship game, at least in the first few years, before they can truly settle. But this is anything's better than Jimmy Lake. Anything. Like, I don't think Fresno will feel the loss to Bower just like Indiana did when he left. Um, just all in all, it's not a bad hire. Washington needs the offensive infusion in the worst way.
Yeah, I think it's the definition of a good non-big name hire. They didn't go for a splash. They went for a guy that they know can produce, and they got their guy from Fresno. I like the hire. That's pretty much all that really needs to be said. You guys made a lot of great points. Another one I want to touch on is Billy Napier to Florida. Am I the only one that's like a tad confused about this? Because I know he's been on a bunch of staffs. I think he was on Dabo's staff and Saban's staff, but I don't know. I'm still kind of a little skeptical about someone going from Louisiana Lafayette to Florida. Louisiana's been a really good team, top 25 team, but I don't know what he does to help Florida win now.
The thing with Florida is it's not necessarily the fact that Florida has talent. Like, that's not an issue. I do think Billy will actually give a shit about recruiting. Also think that he's not going to be a dork. Sorry, I mean, like, Mullins ultimately harmless, but he's a dork. Let's just get out of the way. You don't dress up as Darth Vader on the press conference. That's just weird as hell. But yeah, no, do you think, I don't necessarily think Billy, like I said earlier, I don't think a lot of these coaches are ceiling raisers. I do think that Florida will still be that consistent in the year six program with the occasional, actually very, very occasional, like once in a generation type New Year six appearance. I mean, a playoff appearance. But as a Georgia fan, I do think that he can be 8-4 for a while and stay for a really, 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 really long time. Can't be 6-6 because he get fired, but 8-4 would do wonders. But yeah, no, but I do think that he'll be better than Mullen. I think he's more energized. He's not as lazy because Mullen's main thing was he wasn't really the biggest recruiter at Mississippi State, and he tried to bring that same thing to Florida. Can't run in that state. Can't run at that big of a program. Billy, I do think will bring that energy, do that. I do think they'll lose a little bit on X's and O's because for all the shit that I do give Mullen, he's pretty good offensive guru in a sense, but Florida will be fine. But like I said, not many ceiling raisers right now.
Give Billy time is what I'll say. This is not going to be an easy fix. I mean, did no team that goes 2-9 in the last. Well, I mean, I know they just beat Florida State, but in the 2-9 in the previous 11 games before that against Power 5 teams, that's not going to be an overnight fix. Give Billy time. He's more approachable than your Dan Mullen is. He looks more fun to play for than Dan Mullen. I think it's something that even Billy's going to need time for also just for himself. I think this is going to be a new recruiting cycle for him. You know, fun fact, he was an analyst at Alabama for a year, about 10 years ago. I think for him, you just got to be patient. We got to see what he really is. Not a lot of people keep up with Raging Cajun football. It's going to be a different culture. Sunbelt going to SEC. I think this move was a little premature at first. I would have liked to see him take a job like Cincinnati for a year or two and then make this big move. But you can't hate it. Florida, they clearly knew about him before, making the hire. They feel confident. That they feel confident. And I think that's just the biggest thing. I think Billy Napier, I think he's got a good understanding of what Florida wants to do in at least the near future. And I think he probably essentially fits the program. So well done, Florida. Just be patient with him. That's all I can honestly say.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is kind of the opposite of what LSU is doing. Florida's kind of going for a culture reset. Me and Doug, we talked about it 2 weeks ago. It didn't seem like Dan Mullen to be at Florida. So to have somebody that does, he's worked under some big programs. He's had success at Louisiana, constant success too. So it is a big step, but we've seen coaches make that leap before, and they've done fine. I think at Florida, it is a very thin leash. I don't know if he'll have that time that Andrew's asking for, because it kind of reminds me of the situation with Texas. They're just tired of losing. It's not what they're used to. Kind of spoiled. So I think he does have to go, 8-4. 7-5, 9-3, and show some signs of life. You can't go 6-6. He'd be 6-6 or 5-7 his first 2 years. He's probably out, but we'll see. I do think he fits the SEC culture a lot better, and see how he deals with the media and stuff. But I think he'll be fine as well.
Yeah, I just realized these media days are in the late spring, early summer. They're going to be crazy. Like we're going to see so many different names. We're going to see Lincoln Riley not at OU. It's all this stuff is crazy to me still. Adam, I assume you want to talk a little bit about Sonny Dykes to TCU?
Yes, I think that is one of the very underrated moves of this whole coaching carousel. I think that Sonny Dykes at SMU kind of had this whole negative persona in Dallas about their stuck up, rich white kids. And when Sonny Dykes got there and his staff, they've been working on rebranding the whole SMU program. And as you see the impact of it, they're winning games now. And then he's moving to TCU, which is also in Dallas, a little bit further west in Fort Worth, but it's in the Dallas area, DFW. And he's bringing a lot of his staff. He's also bringing in Brian Carrington, who was the recruiting coordinator at Texas when Tom Herman was there, and Texas had the top recruiting class a couple years. They were the number 3 recruiting class his first year there. So he has deep ties in Texas. His SMU staff does too. Lincoln Riley is leaving Oklahoma. Who knows where they're going to be? I think there's opportunity for TCU, especially these next 2-3 years when Texas and Oklahoma leave, for TCU to really solidify itself if the coaching aspect goes well. Recruiting, I think TCU is going to be really well. They're going to surprise a lot of people because of that.
It's a lateral move. I'm not a fan of Sonny Dykes to TCU. I just thought it was a general, like, it makes sense. I just find it lazy. Like, I don't think we've seen Sonny Dykes at a Power 5. Granted, it was Cal, and Cal's not really. Cal and Sonny Dykes were oil and water, but at the same time, like, we've seen them deal with Power 5 type roster, Power 5 implications. I do think that he's improved as a coach since then. I just don't think that he's all that's cracked up to be, in a sense. Like, I'm not really, like, even on his best day, I don't see TCU being anything worth writing about while he's there. I mean, even in the new Big 12, like, gun to my head, I'll put Cincy, I'll put BYU, I'll put a decent amount of these teams. They'll be better. TCU will be better than Kansas. They'll be better than West Virginia. They'll be better than Texas Tech. But, like, this is meh. Just meh.
I don't view it that way. This is about as clean cut of a hire that TCU could make. There's really no other coach that I feel like would fit what they're trying to do better. They only got to go 40 miles east of where they already were. Find a guy that, already knows the team so well. And if Sonny Dykes can bring mainly the offensive staff over, I think TCU is in a really good spot. He already knows the city. He knows the culture. He knows the recruiting scene. He knows everything about Texas, essentially, especially Northern Texas. Why not just take what he already knows and then just put it on a bigger scale? That's what it is. I mean, he's about as Texas of a guy that you can get. He fits the culture already, and not just the university and the city. I don't know where you can honestly go wrong with this hire. I don't think there's another coach out there that would leave their current state to go to TCU. Because right now we don't know how good TCU really is as a whole yet. I mean, they were 5-7 this year. We truthfully don't know what their ceiling is. I'd say go get a guy who's coached one of the better quarterbacks in college football this year, in Tanner Mordecai. I don't see where TCU goes wrong here.
I agree with Andrew. Yes, his pass isn't, all that it's cracked up to be, but.
And he's also this is just the best situation for him. Like, yeah. I'll take this culture for him better than what he had at Berkeley.
Easily, because I live in Dallas, so I see what he did for SMU, him and his staff. I think it's very important that he has a good staff around him, which it seems like he's putting together. I think he's taking up most of his SMU staff, and he's bringing in Brian Carrington was at USC. He got him to come to TCU. I think they'll be fine. I think they'll do well in recruiting. BYU, Cincinnati, TCU, I think they'll all be, competing for those top 3 spots in the Big 12. His past, it is what it is, but what he did at SMU, what he's done is proven that he can change. We'll see what happens, but I think I agree with Andrew. I think it's the smartest move. Take what you're doing in Dallas, in Texas in general, move it to a bigger scale, and see if it works still.
I mean, I don't know if those are the three schools I would say for the top three. I feel like we got to give.
Well, no, those aren't the
credit
three
to-
schools in the top three. I'm saying they're all like
They can be in the top three.
yes.
You're not saying that's the top three.
Or-
Okay,
no,
I misunderstood
they're
that.
not. Longhorns.
When
I mean, I wouldn't say right now. Definitely in the future, it's always possible.
after
for
week
Texas.
5.
Yes.
Okay, I gotta get the dig in on that one. All right, so I know we're cutting in a little bit. We got lag here a little bit, but let's think about a few things. Let's think about Notre Dame. Let's think about Oklahoma. Those are the two main that I look at. SMU just hired Rhett Lashley, which I'm very confused on because Miami's offense was also putrid. Van Dyke comes in, Miami's offense.
It's a lazy hire. That's what it is.
It's a very lazy hire. It feels more like a brand hire than an actual cultural hire. This is why SMU did not get the invite to the Big 12. Just my opinion. But basically, we look at Oklahoma here. Oklahoma is one of the biggest names out there. Where the hell does Oklahoma go from here? Because you're gonna try and snatch Dave Aranda because I don't think he's leaving Baylor. I don't know where Oklahoma goes from here on out.
So by the time this releases, I won't guarantee, but it probably might happen that
You'll put a small wager.
No, I'm not putting a wager. I'm saying because judging by how this coaching market has moved, a coach will be named by the time we release this episode. This is just how things are. But if it isn't, there's a lot of smoke to the Venables rumors. That makes sense. Mark Stoops, a little bit of smoke there, but
it'd be a somewhat lazy hire.
I mean, yes, but at the same
fits,
time,
but it's the most laziest. It's
I mean, it's lazy, but Mark, on his own merit, has shown he built Kentucky. So I'm not gonna go from there. But yeah, it's also kind of lazy. But also I don't think he's the ceiling raiser either. But at least for that program. But yeah, it's literally going to be, it's either Venables. If it's not Venables, then I generally have no idea. Matt Campbell, I think, is at a big programs is false goods. I don't think he's that guy. He's living off being in a program that's arguably the worst of all time, making him 7-5 every year. That's his mantra. That's not the coach I'd really go after like that. Notre Dame, it just sounds like it's going to either be Marcus Freeman or I think it's going to be Marcus Freeman or Fickle. Campbell's going to be a distant third. Can't go wrong.
Campbell's not leaving, and it's not even because he wants to leave. It's going to be because nobody's going to be picking that apple anymore.
Yes, but I think if both, because I do think that Freeman accepts if Fickle turns it down, or I think or Freeman might be the head coach in waiting, one of the two. But yeah, it's going to be a former Cincinnati person as the Notre Dame head coach. But Oklahoma, generally no idea.
So no Urban Meyer.
No, I mean Urban Meyer. Was it Monday?
He's not leaving.
Heart attack by Wednesday,
or claims to have a heart attack.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure he could find a place to put a pint house in South Bend. Maybe that's just me, but yeah, I literally, as you were saying that, I was looking through Twitter, and apparently it's looking like right now, if they can outlast Cincy, then they might go for Fickle. Otherwise, it's going to be Freeman. That's what I'm just.
If they go for Freeman, it would actually be a terrific move. Actually, I would have zero issue with that whatsoever.
I think either of those are good hires. So.
Yeah, no beef with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, but with OU, it's you can't really make a. This is going to sound weird. I don't think you can make a good hire if you're OU because you just lost Lincoln Riley. You can't really upgrade. You can't really stay on the same level. You're going to
Stoops,
downgrade.
because if you go for Stoops out of Kentucky, you're not getting an upgrade. That's just what the main issue is. That's the main issue. Stoops built Kentucky, but the issue with bringing in Stoops is that he's not Lincoln Riley. Okay, you dumped your ex. That you got dumped by your ex, who was an 8 out of 10, and you're going for somebody who's like a 5.5 out of 10, and you're not really that happy about it, but you might as well just live with it.
They're going for the rebound right now. Like Lincoln Riley was a slam
and if he
dunk.
goes there, he's probably want to be there for what, like 5 years at most. And in that,
Lincoln Riley was there for 5 years.
I mean, they're 2 different 5 years that I'm looking.
No.
But at the end of the day, I think Oklahoma, they're like you said, they're just going to be looking for a rebound. They're not going to be looking for a long-term hire. They're just going to look for someone to sail the boat for the next couple of years, maybe a recruiting cycle, and then they'll move on. They'll look for the next big coach to come out.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think they're going to just look for somebody that's kind of keeping the boat on track. They're not looking for land. They're just kind of trying to stay straight. And then once somebody comes available, then they'll be like, okay, yeah, let's find a harbor. Let's do whatever. But yeah, right now OU is really in a really freaking bad spot. So is that all we got on that?
Coaches, yes, let's go to games. Let's get this over with.
Games.
Rip the Band-Aid off my scar.
Rip the Band-Aid off. I can do that beautifully. Let's, you know what? We might as well. Both of us are here.
Get your laugh out. Get your laugh out. All right.
Well, I remember the last pod we were on. We were talking, or actually, you brought up how around 6 o'clock Central, you're gonna clip that part of the podcast about me saying that we were gonna beat you.
You wrote this in your diary?
No, I actually clipped it. How we were gonna beat you. You said you were gonna clip it and send it to me about 6 Central. And I said, well, about that time I'll be on the field with the team with the Axe. And it was more like 6:30-ish. But I mean,
6:41.
6:41. Yeah, that sounds about right. I lost track of time. It was a crazy night. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a great game from Fleck. I thought it was a great game from Stanford, even though he just got cut, which, by the way, much needed hire. Every Gopher fan will tell you he needed to be gone. I'm glad to see that Morgan's going to stay for another year. I want to see what he can do under a different offense.
I thought you were complaining about him earlier in the season.
Oh, I was complaining more about Sanford ruining Morgan because I thought that Tanner was still good, but the offense was just the definition of bland. Like if you had to define this, or if you had to compare this offense to like food, it would be like Cheerios. Like it's there. It works occasionally. Like it's good for your heart, but no one likes it. Like it's not fun. Like I want to be like Fruit Loops or Fruity Pebbles or Cocoa Puffs.
You want sugar cubes in a bowl?
I mean, sugar cubes are good. Cheerios, yeah, they're good for your heart.
I like to keep my teeth when I'm past 50.
Diabetes.
That's a good point, but my point stands. It's a bland offense.
Are you telling me you want to get fat?
I'm already a larger guy, but I think this move was needed. I'm really, really freaking excited. Oh, crud. That's great timing. Great timing. I'm really excited to see an offense with Mo Ibrahim coming back. I want to see who we can keep on the offensive side of the ball. I know O'Keefe has no more eligibility. He's an amazing freaking tight end. We lost a lot of offensive linemen. Brevin Spanford is probably going to get a larger role next year. He already had a pretty big role this year. He's probably going to turn into one of the top receivers on this team, along with Daniel Jackson and Dalen Wright. But on the defensive side of the ball, I need to give props to 2 guys who don't get enough credit nationally because it's Minnesota. Jack Gibbons and Mariano Sori-Marin. Those guys are absolute dogs of linebackers. They get after the ball carrier. They take them down. They make them feel their physicality, their prowess. You know that they're there. You run away from them and you can't because they have such great range. They're just form tacklers. They're so fun to watch. I love tackling. And they're just the definition of like Midwestern, pound it, just such good tackling. I love tackling, if you can't tell. Other than that, Justin Wally, my gosh, you're a good corner. That was a great pick. Not much else I can say. He's going to be a great corner in the Big Ten for the next few years. Other than that, it's really just looking at the game itself. I don't really know what else you can say about Minnesota. There's definitely some things you can say about Wisconsin. I don't have to get into that. We kind of proved that ourselves, but I just think our run defense wasn't getting enough credit, and everybody was thinking that this was going to be another Wisconsin domination, and everyone was going to be like, oh, Braylon Allen, he's 17 and he's doing all this. Yeah, we kept him under like 50 rushing yards.
It was 58.
58, the same thing. But yeah.
And he was injured for most of the second half too.
So that's probably why Mertz got more throws.
Yes, that's actually true. And honestly, I am about to make a joke that will make me have to write an apology letter to whatever health organization. So I'm not going to make in regards to those comments, but I am trying to find a valid explanation. Like what you just did with comparing Cheerios to a Minnesota offense, I'm trying to figure out what to compare it to Mertz's throwing, because I had faith that he was finally going to put it together. He did not put it together. I was like, piss poor. I don't know how much longer I could take this. Like, I am about to almost give in and say that I hope Spencer Rattler comes to Wisconsin, but I don't want that, because I know that the second that happens, the whole team is going to implode. Like, I was gonna make a reference to a nuclear reaction, but I don't want to write an apology letter, like I said. But the whole offense for Wisconsin needs to change. Joe Rudolph needs to get the hell out the door. Leave Wisconsin now. The only reason why you're here is because you were with Chris at Pitt, and quite frankly, it's time for you to get out. As far as Chris goes, he is on thin ice. He is on thinner ice than Lake Winnebago in the middle of December, okay? And someone that has been on Lake Winnebago in the middle of December, that ice is pretty freaking thin, okay? If we go to a freaking Music City Bowl or Mayo Bowl, or I don't even know what the Big Ten has associated with a Pinstripe Bowl still, we lose that bowl game. And like I said, it also depends on who the opponent is. Might be time to start looking at the door, because I am looking at Jim Leonard. Jim Leonard right now, he's going to be a finalist for the Broyles Award. He put up one of the top 3 defenses in the country with this Wisconsin team. And the fact that you were able to put up this defense, posting only 8-4 record, just shows how disrespectful you are doing to this guy. That is a guy that could easily get snatched up. He could probably, we're talking about Oklahoma looking for a coach. Well, actually, no, they're not going to go for Jim Leonard, because they obviously want an offensive profile first. But if you look at any of these other schools that probably would want a defensive-minded coach, like let's say Luke Fickell goes to Oklahoma, per se. Who's to say that Cincinnati wouldn't look at Jim Leonard and looking to snatch him up? I would not be surprised if they did. Jim Leonard turned down the Packers' defensive coordinator job last year to stay in Wisconsin, and I guarantee you the reason why he stayed is because he wants to be the head coach there. And I want him to be the head coach there. I want him to have all the power in Madison. Give him the governance. I'm willing to do whatever to get this guy to stay in Madison and to be the coach. Because Chris, it's not cutting it at all.
Yeah, that's as good as I would say it. I mean, I wouldn't say it.
Can we go to the next Big Ten game? Because I'm freaking pissed.
I would say give Chris a lifetime contract, but that's just me. Let's go to the next Big Ten game. I'll try and keep that one a little shorter. The game Ohio State fans look forward to every year. Michigan fans look forward to every year. Michigan, Ohio State, this game was different than the last quite some time. Michigan actually won. Michigan not only won, they won. They won by just pounding the football and having good defense. That's how they win football games. That's how they won this football game. I mean, Ohio State, before this game, we were giving them the crown as the second best team with the first best offense. And now it's like, That offensive line got murdered by Hutchinson and Ajabo. Their defense looked weak. Uh, Stroud didn't look amazing. Their wide receivers still looked pretty good, but it's like, what do you do from here if you're Ohio State?
Reorganize the defense.
Yep.
You have to.
That's it. I mean, that's kind of
fine.
this reorganize defense. Get ready for Rose Bowl and pray that you get a pretty lifeless Oregon team
Makes
or
some,
or Utah, whoever wins that game.
I do think that there needs to be a reflection this all season, not just defensively, but also offensively. Um, like I think that Ohio State in general they should have been a lot better than they were this year. They kept on hanging by a thread. Um, uncharacteristically weak in the trenches. Michigan exploited that they haven't done so in years. Um, they just didn't have that killer edge like the urban teams used to outside of that random loss against a 6-6 team that would always happen. But in general, I do think that Ohio State needs to change up a lot of their positional coaches. They already did change out defensive coordinator and reduce his duties. Probably need to do some more on that end. But Ryan Day is going to be fine. He's going to be safe. That Harbaugh quote of getting in line with the triple actually kind of got validated. I mean, he said it after the fact, but it was kind of validated because, like you said, we hadn't really seen Ryan Day with adversity like in the conference, and this season was the first season that you saw it, and then Michigan just punched them in the mouth, and they didn't know how to respond. So you have that's true tribulation, and credit to Harbaugh, credit to Michigan, best coaching job he's ever done. Michigan wasn't expected to be here; they're here now. It would also be peak Michigan for them to lose against the Iowa, but I don't think they will because Iowa cannot create offense worth crap. But like I said, props to Michigan. They need to retool practically their coaching staff outside of Ryan Day and a few other coaches. But yeah, just get better in the trenches. And CJ's a weird case, but I don't feel like getting into him right now. So
CJ will be fine. He'll be fine.
he'll be fine. He's just I don't want to call him a stat pattern because he was actually like trying to chase the game. Like it wasn't really out of reach, but also want to say that he wasn't really like a true like
He wasn't the
stud.
true Heisman that people thought that he was going to be.
Bingo.
Now, this is what I will say. It feels like most of the season people have been going to either likes of Kirby Smart, Mel Tucker, maybe Luke Fickell, even though I wouldn't really agree with it all the way in terms of who's done the best coaching job this season. Who's to say it's not Jim Harbaugh? Now, granted, the Michigan State game was an absolute atrocious. We have yet to see what the rankings are going to be later tonight since this will be released on Tuesday. Well, why not Jim Harbaugh? You go into this season, Jim Harbaugh, Michigan wasn't even ranked going into the season. Excuse me, I feel a little bronchitis. Michigan wasn't ranked. They beat Ohio State. Even though the Michigan State game stung a lot, they still beat Penn State. That's typically they beat Penn State in a whiteout atmosphere. That's a game that they lose. They absolutely destroyed Wisconsin at the start of the year. This is a Michigan team that, as far as I'm concerned, they got among the best defensive players in the game with Aiden Hutchinson. They got among the more best running backs in the Big Ten right now, and Hassan Haskins, and he absolutely lit it up. I didn't even think this was one of the most talented teams that Michigan's ever had. Now we're in discussion that it is the most talented team he's ever had. It's been the best coach team that it's ever been ever since he's been there. Why doesn't Jim Harbaugh deserve Coach of the Year? He absolutely should. And, Doug, you literally wrote it in your article this year. He's been among on the hottest seats to start the year. He's probably got the coolest seat right now.
Yeah, I mean, like at least the thing with Harbaugh is that historically what he's done is Michigan standards. It's just that Michigan always has a higher inflated sense of self. The whole Michigan man garbage. Don't think of a national title program, and most of our titles pretty much were bunched up from one era 97 was the only real shot at it. Like Michigan has this higher inflated. You also see this with Texas. You don't really see it with Nebraska anymore because they've been kind of butt for at least like 15 years or so. But you see it with Texas, you see it in Michigan. But like in general, like Harbaugh's making New Year sixes. Like the main issue with him was he actually had to win those games. Like now he beat Ohio State. That big game, Harbaugh monkey at least is off his back mostly. I mean, Michigan State's still another problem that shouldn't happen. And in terms of coach of the year, like this also might transfer lead into our next game where we're talking about Bedlam. Like Mike Gundy, and nobody expected them to be this good either. And it's not even that their offense is leading the pack either. There's just been an elite defensive unit. Like Oklahoma State has had the top 3 defense in the entire country this year. And for a team in the Big 12, even though it's not the Big 12 back in the day where they're putting up 60, 70 points a game, it's still pretty impressive what Jim Knowles has done and Mike Gundy have done. Like, I do think Harbaugh almost every other year should be coach of the year, but like Oklahoma State's also playing from a much, much lower floor than Michigan. So, I mean, so sorry if I kind of went forward to Bedlam, but like it just kind of tied in when you mentioned coach of the year.
Yeah. As far as the whole game goes, y'all covered most of it. I was thinking most of them were shocked about how bad on defense. They like they couldn't even tackle. I don't know if it was the snow or what, but I kind of agree with Andrew about the whole Jim Harbaugh coach of the year. I didn't pick Michigan. I didn't think Michigan would be good at all. And they shocked me. They looked bad against they looked good at the start against Michigan State, and they threw the game away. But they bounced back from it. And I think that shows a lot about the coaching. You have a tough loss like that late in the year, and then you have 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, you have to play Ohio State for a shot in the Big Ten championship game. I mean, it was a lot about Jim Harbaugh and how he has his team. They look like a well-oiled machine. I do think they definitely played the best game I've ever seen them play. I don't think they look like that against Iowa, but if they do and they look good, I can't see why he shouldn't win Coach of the Year. As far as Mike Gundy goes, Oklahoma State did surprise me. We'll talk about them later, but I think Mike Gundy also has a good shout. I just think that what Jim Harbaugh has done at Michigan, got that monkey off his back, rallied his team back against what many were saying was the second best team in the country by far. So I think I would agree with Andrew that he should win Coach of the Year if it be Iowa.
Yeah, I agree, and they don't even have to look like the team that they were against Ohio State to beat Iowa. I mean, Iowa's awful. Like we can just ignore their record. I don't care that they only have 2 losses. Iowa sucks. If they played anybody but Scott Frost in the last week of the season, they lose by 30. But yeah, going back to the actual reason we're talking about this, I mean, yeah, Harbaugh definitely needs a shout for Coach of the Year. No one really expected this out of this Michigan team. Like we've said multiple times, this isn't really their most talented team. I'd say it's their most well built. And I know that kind of sounds weird, but it's Big Ten football at its finest. Great running, great blocking, great defense. Obviously you want to be able to have a consistent pass game, but if you're able to keep the clock and force your opponents to try and stop the run when they can't, that's really tough to do, especially in that type of an environment. You got the big house, biggest stadium in college football, snowy weather, high stakes. Winner this goes to Indianapolis. It's nice to see Harbaugh finally kind of break through that barrier, because I wouldn't say we've made fun of him for not winning a big game, but we've definitely kind of ragged on him for like, congrats on beating Maryland and Rutgers and all these teams. You can't beat Michigan State consistently. You can't beat Penn State consistently. You can't beat Ohio State at all. So it's nice to finally get that monkey off his back and just kind of, get forward, focus on Iowa. And then after that, just hope for the best with seeding because nobody wants to face Georgia. Nobody wants to face Georgia. But I honestly think
We haven't officially clinched anything yet. Don't say that we're in it. Nope.
you haven't clinched it. We don't even have to talk about Alabama, Auburn that much. I'm still giving it to Georgia. I don't care. Alabama is not Alabama esque this year. I don't see it.
No,
You say that. People always say that. They said that in 2017, and we were all severely punished. Severe.
Well, I'm
Yes.
ready to be punished. I'm ready, but I'm sticking
That's
with
gonna
it.
make a great out of context clip right there.
That is, yeah. Dog.
No context transfer portal. Yeah, that's tough. But I'm sticking with it. I'm sticking with my take. I think Georgia wins by 2 touchdowns.
And honestly, let's just go ahead and just go into this bedlam thing right here. Let's just call it what it is. I feel like Lincoln already knew he was leaving.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State just, we'll see. I don't know if they're good enough to be in the playoff, but I'll tell you one thing, they're going to make one hell of a Fiesta Bowl contender.
No, because Big 12, Sugar Bowl, that's their.
Yeah,
that's true. Well, I mean, I guess that's true. I guess. I mean, depending on who goes where, I guess Baylor could be in that Fiesta Bowl then.
Yeah, so if Oklahoma, so if the top 4 stays as is, then Oklahoma State would be Sugar, Baylor would be Fiesta, and then no, because Baylor might get bumped for Sparty.
We'll see how that goes.
Yeah. No,
I think it also depends on how Baylor looks against Oklahoma State. Also, we got to put that in consideration. Let's be honest here. I mean, Baylor has no shot to make the playoff, and I'd say, I guess you're right. I guess the best case scenario looks like most likely we're going to be seeing a winner goes to Sugar Bowl.
Yeah. So
if Oklahoma State loses, then they'll probably be Fiesta Bowl.
If Oklahoma State loses, they bump Michigan State out, and it'd be Notre Dame, Oklahoma State. The only because the at-large spots, Ole Miss has at-large spot pretty much essentially clinched. You have Notre Dame has it because I don't think they're making the playoff. You'll have either Pitt has one by virtue of being ACC champion. So you're either stuck with the last spot's either going to be Michigan State or Baylor. If Baylor loses, because I think OU's out regardless. But I do think that if Oklahoma State does win, I think that for the Big 12 slot, if Baylor gets blown out, I think OU can leapfrog them for that Sugar Bowl. But I digress. So.
Yeah, I mean, Bedlam was weird because I feel like a lot of people assumed seeing Oklahoma State's defense for the first entire of the season, this is going to be like one of the lowest scoring Bedlams we've seen. Well, we were freaking wrong. What was the final score? Like 37-33?
Yep.
And
exactly.
Wasn't the total like 51.5 or something? Or something crazy low? Yeah, that was
Bedlam. You're always guaranteed to put points up. I mean,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't care. I don't care if you got Browns, Brandon Whedon back there. No, Cowboys, Brandon Whedon back there against freaking. I'm trying to think of the absolute worst Oklahoma quarterback of recent years. Damn, that's such a tough one.
Early season Spencer
Landry Jones, I guess.
Worst Oklahoma quarterback.
Well, I mean, Landry was not. Well, okay, yeah, I guess
Landry was good.
Landry was good, but like he's not like your Baker. He's not your Kyler. He's not, Not
your Bradford.
Okay. Pittsburgh. You take Pittsburgh Landry Jones against Cowboys, Dallas Cowboys, Brandon Whedon back on those teams. Then maybe we'll be talking a 51 point.
I don't know if anyone would be able to tell what the total is because no one's going to watch that. That's another thing you got to take into consideration. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what the deal is with Oklahoma's defense. I mean, yeah, we know Oklahoma has a bad defense, but they made Spencer Sanders look good.
Yeah,
Like that's hard to do. That is hard
That's
to
counts.
do.
fireable offense there.
I mean, horrible offense, and Lincoln Riley just decided to dip before that could even happen. But
Full
I
credit
don't
to
know.
Lincoln. He said he wasn't going to take the LSU job, and you know what? He was dead honest. That's probably the most truthful. That's the most truthful quote ever given by a coach who was on his way out.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't lie. You got to give him credit. But
Yeah.
with the game, it's not even just the game because the game happened. It's in the past now. Oklahoma State's now in the Big 12 championship, even though they would have been if they lost.
Yep.
Like this game just kills Oklahoma because I don't think Lincoln Riley leaves if Oklahoma wins, especially like if they would have won the Big 12 championship too, which would have been another stretch. I like this loss really, it's not even just a loss. Like they have the most lopsided rivalry in all of college
Beginning
football.
of
They're
the
the only.
end.
I don't think it's the beginning of the end. I think it's the beginning
It's
of.
beginning of the end of for the next 5 years.
You know what I would say? It's the beginning of the dark ages for them. You know, the
Well,
dark ages in
what's
history.
going to be dark ages for them? What, 8-4?
I mean, compared to like what they
Yeah.
have been, yeah. I mean, it's like how in the past we viewed Florida as like, I mean, 2020, they were going to go to the SEC championship. And after the whole shoe incident, they kind of fell off. So now it's like that was kind of the beginning of their dark ages because I don't see them succeeding for another, not succeeding, but like getting back to high standards of competing for a national championship, minimum 2-3 years. And that's going to be kind of the same thing with Oklahoma. I don't think any hire that they can make is good enough to save this class, their next class. So now you're really banking on 2024 being your first really good class that gets you back into that Oklahoma like echelon. And we're currently talking about the 2022 class. 2024, those guys are going to be freshmen. They're not going to have immediate impacts. So we're talking at least 3-4 years of Oklahoma not looking like Oklahoma. I would say that's a Middle Ages, Dark Ages, whatever historical term you want to use. And we're also forgetting they're about to go to the SEC. Their competition is about to go from Kansas to a good Arkansas team, whatever division realignment happens with them. They're about to go from 0 to 100 real freaking quick. Because in the Big 12, you've got Oklahoma, no offense, not Texas right now, Oklahoma State right now, Kansas State occasionally. It's a little, I mean, Baylor this year, but when you go to the SEC, if they end up in the SEC West or whatever division realignment happens, you're going to be going up against LSU, who's going to reload. They're going to go up against Alabama, Auburn, who may look better next year. I don't know what's going on with Auburn. Arkansas, who's looking really good. A&M, who has a chance to probably have the number 2 or 3 class in the country.
Already got
Georgia's
number 3. This might as well bump up to number 2.
Yeah, probably number 2. I think Georgia's probably going to hold on to number 1. But it's going to be tough. I don't know what they can do. Like Lincoln left at the perfect time. Lincoln left before the ship exploded. Like he, captain usually there, oh, I'm going to go down with my ship. Lincoln was like, I see a lifesaver over there. I'm going to swim to safety. Why the heck would I do that? And his safety is USC. Great decision by him. The Oklahoma Titanic just hit the SEC iceberg and it is going down. They're yelling timber.
Yeah. I think I might be jumping the gun a little bit too much. I think we should wait and see who they hire. Nobody saw Lincoln Riley leaving. Nobody saw Brian Kelly leaving. So who knows what'll happen? You can wake up tomorrow and Cliff Kingsbury is the head coach of Oklahoma or something. I don't think that'll happen, but the way
It'll
things
be
are,
the damnedest thing of all time.
the way things are going, who knows? They can go get Kellen Moore or something. I don't know, but
That would probably be an extremely underrated hire, to be honest.
I think it'd be a great hire. I don't think he would leave because he can probably get a job in the NFL somewhere. but
He's probably waiting for. I was about to say something so terrible. I might as well fucking say it. He's waiting for Mike McCarthy to overdose on barbecue brisket. That's what he's waiting
oh my
for.
gosh.
You know what? Mike McCarthy overdosed on cheese curds when he was in Green Bay, man. Okay, I mean, I should be allowed to say that.
Hey, that's easy to do though. Those things are addictive.
I brought a couple bags from Wisconsin when I came back.
I'm just waiting
I
to
have
see
some in
who
my
they
fridge.
hire, and then we'll see if the ship is really sinking for Oklahoma, because it is a big program. Still have a couple years left in the Big 12 as well. So they have money. They can make it. They can make something happen.
I will say, do you think that this move makes them want to delay the move to the SEC? Because there was a lot of talk about how this could quite possibly be their last year. Do you think that now that they don't have a solidified head coach, do you think that that makes them be like, okay, you know what, we're not ready yet. We need to make sure everything's ready so that when we can go into the SEC, we're guns a-blazing.
I don't think they're. Oh, go ahead, Adam.
I think that depends on who they hire. If they have to wait and they hire a placeholder for 2 years, then yeah, they're gonna want to delay it. And I also think them and Texas have to go in together. So if
Exactly.
Texas wants to go right away, then they really don't have a choice.
I think on one hand, yes, but at the same time, I mean, let's just be honest. That SEC money, you don't really give a damn about who your head coach is. Just look at Vanderbilt. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, I don't think Vanderbilt gives a damn about how terrible they are. All they're still getting the SEC money, so I don't think Oklahoma's going to be that bothered by it.
Yeah, I think Oklahoma's a football program, though. I think they want to win.
It'll be fine. Like these schools will be fine.
They'll work itself out. Even if they go in unprepared, you still have an SEC brand. You're still an Oklahoma brand. We'll see how the realignment goes, but I really don't think it'd be end of the world if they went in a little unprepared.
Yeah, I can see that. I agree with that.
Yeah, maybe I'm overreacting a little. I just think that this is really tough for Oklahoma. I think it puts them in a really bad spot.
Yeah, it's not ideal because people talking about Oklahoma is going to come in and be a whole different look on the SEC with their play style. And that was all Cliff Kingsbury. And now it's just, I don't know. It's a lot of questions that need to be answered.
Should we go in on this Heisman hierarchy debate? Because I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a little dumbfounded, to be honest.
I have an opinion, probably not popular, but you want me to just go now?
We all make fun of terrible opinions here. We all give terrible opinions, so why not?
I don't think it's a terrible opinion. I think Doug might actually like it. As of right now, if everything was unbiased, if you take away schools, brands, opponents to an extent, what stops you from giving the Heisman to Kenny Pickett?
Amen, brother.
Kenny Pickett has been the most consistent thing in college football this year. It's actually kind of crazy.
I'd like to make a rebuttal to that. If
you say Braylon Allen, I swear to God.
No.
What?
Okay, let's take the same debate. You take away competition. We're just talking about consistent play. Why not Marcus Jones? I don't think there's a. I've seen this dude in front of my eyes multiple times. Multiple times this season. Every single time, it's like, what the hell can he do? He gets picks. He catches touchdown passes on offense. He leads the country in return kicks. He has his team going on an 11-game win streak. There's, look, and I know he's a special teams guy primarily, but the dude literally does it all. Houston would not be where they're at right now without him. Without him, I think Houston would be possibly 8-4, maybe 9-3. I just think he's that valuable. He deserves, Pete, the talk is whenever we think about Heisman winners, they have to light up. They got to have their Heisman moments. Marcus Jones had that against SMU. He's had it multiple times this season. He deserves it. And if he puts up another great showing against Cincinnati, and let's say Houston beats Cincinnati, I don't know what more you want him to do. If we want consistent performers, why not him? I have yet to see any real argument as to why he doesn't deserve a Heisman vote.
I definitely think he. Oh, you go, Doug.
I don't know. Like I'm saying, this is probably, I wouldn't say weakest year. I just think it's like so open that there's no prohibitive favorite. Like people are gonna say Bryce, but we saw what happened this weekend. Like we saw it. Like let's not lie now. Georgia does not
Bryce Young wins Heisman this year. It's a bigger atrocity than Lionel Messi winning his 7th Ballon d'Or today.
Jorginho got robbed.
Lewandowski.
Jorginho got robbed. That's what I'm going to say.
Conte.
Yeah. But, it's just so wide open that there's no prohibitive favorite. Like, if you go down the list of, like, top teams, Bryce, false image right there. Georgia, no real dominant player. It's just domination by team. Michigan, you can go defense. Offensively, no. Nobody.
I mean, look, Aiden Hutchinson's been fantastic, but let's just be honest. If Ndamukong Suh wasn't worthy of a Heisman, then Aiden Hutchinson definitely is not. And let's just be honest. I think, outside of Georgia, Michigan's been one of the most team-dominant teams, if that makes sense, among everybody this whole season. It's just people were comparing this season to like 2007. I just think it's this argument that there are a lot of great players out there who are having great individual seasons, but let's be honest, a lot of those great players are they're like behind in the rankings. Like we could take Sam Hartman out of Wake Forest. He's having one of the best years by a quarterback, but look at where his team is. Had a couple losses. Now they're borderline top 20. You look at, let's just say, Sam Howell, who was able to turn around for a good part of the season. Guess what? Like Andrew said, Kenny Pickett. Guess what? He's going to be there in the ACC Heisman. What happens if Pitt loses to Wake Forest this weekend? Guess what? He's going to get, even if he goes lights out, he's still going to get knocked out of the Heisman conversation. And he probably does deserve. He's probably been among the top 3 most consistent quarterback plays of the season. It just feels like every single team that is up there in the top 4, top 6, top 10, they're there not just because they're led by a great player. It's just the most team-oriented season I think I've seen in a really long time.
Yeah, and I think.
Go ahead.
No, you go. You go.
Yeah, I think it's wide open as well. If I had to pick right now, I would give it to Bryce Young. Don't like it, but that's how I would pick. If I was betting, I would pick that he wins. I agree. Marcus Jones, great player. I love him. If we don't lose to Texas Tech, then he's probably in the conversation. But you have that loss.
Clayton Tune doesn't throw 4 picks, then we have a different conversation.
Not blaming him, but it's just a Power 5 school. You're gonna have to run the table or have just an amazing year.
Let's just have a quick conversation, like just a quick 2-minute bit. What group of 5 player within the last, I'd say, let's just take playoff era, has been most worthy of being in the Heisman conversation? Corey Davis, 2016.
Yeah, he's definitely up there.
Or,
I mean,
like, who would we say was Cincinnati's best player last year?
I don't even know. Last year seems like a blur to me.
I don't
know. I mean, you can't take anybody from this team, honestly. Like the closest guy you could take is Sauce Gardner, but I don't really think you could take him just because he's just a corner. I feel like to win a Heisman as a defensive back, you have to be a little bit more. Like with Marcus Jones.
So,
okay, go for it.
Yeah, no, this is like somewhat related. So, Sauce's teammate got nominated for the Thorpe, but Sauce wasn't. Like, thoughts
Kobe.
On that? Yeah, Kobe, yeah.
It's because Sauce wasn't targeted as much this season. So it gives Kobe more targets, gives him more deflections. That essentially explains it why. He saw the ball more than Sauce did.
Yeah, I like Sauce a lot. I think he's really good. He plays so well in coverage. No one throws to him. That's kind of the thing. It's you can't force turnovers when the ball's never going your way. So I mean, those types of awards, they're kind of a little bit more biased, I feel, towards like creating turnovers because those are the numbers that you look at. You don't really look at, QBR allowed, passer rating allowed, yards allowed, stuff like that. They kind of more focus on INTs and that kind of stuff, it feels like.
Yeah. And one last award thing before we go back to the Heisman and talk about G5s. So with Blitnikoff, none of the Ohio State receivers were nominated. But at the same time, though, like I didn't have an issue with any of the nominations. Like, I mean, it feels wrong to not have a single Ohio State receiver up on there, but Addison, Bell, like being nominated, it's just like you can't. It's not a bad nom. It's just crap that it's only
Yeah.
3 nominees.
It's
you know what I'm saying?
I like every player on that list. I wish it was like 5. I just wish every award would just be 5. That just works, or at least 4. But me personally, if you had to do 3, I'm going Bell, Addison, and then I'd probably remove Jameson for probably Garrett. Would you say out of the 3? I'd probably have to say Garrett. Like it would probably be Garrett or Smith and Jigba, right?
Yeah.
I don't think
like,
Olave.
I would swap out. I would pretty much the same thing, but I wouldn't swap out Jameson. I'd swap out Bell. But like in general, it's pretty hard to pick. Yeah, so it's kind of hard to, like I said, the receiver's pretty deep this year, so it's kind of fucked. Because we know for a fact that they're gonna make the All-American team. Like,
Yeah.
So somebody's gonna get gypped one way or the other in regards to that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, you could tell me every single Ohio State receiver makes an All-American first, and I would just be like, yeah, makes sense. But obviously, you can't really have an award where it's just who's the best Ohio State wide receiver, even though it probably should be that.
Be a fist
But it would be. But I mean, man, Smith and Jigba is so good. I think he's the best of the 3. He's so freaking good.
I think Olave is the guy that I think I would look at the most, and I'd probably point to him and be like, okay, I think I trust you to have the most consistent game every season. I think I view him as the most reliable guy. That's just my honest opinion, just because it feels like he's been there for 4 years. That's just my take. I just think he's all reliable, and that's truthfully the only thing I got to say on him.
Yeah, he's definitely the
lead dog.
He's like, when you think of the Ohio State receivers, the first one you're going to think of is Olave because he's been there the longest. He's the guy that's accrued the most stats while he's been there. But I don't know. I don't like throwing guys into like a prototype, like a route runner or a deep threat, because they're always much more than that. But he is kind of that route runner guy. Obviously, he's quick. He's not like a super deep threat like what you would assume, like I don't know, like a Jameson or even to an extent a Garrett Wilson, but he definitely does have the speed. But I don't know, when I just watch Smith and Jigba, he is just I can't find a flaw right now. And maybe that's just me being wowed by everything. I can't find anything bad about JSN.
All right, so are we going to the last topic here on the outline?
yeah.
Yeah.
We're close. All right. Let's just, Andrew, let's go off with you first. I'm just going to read what it says here. With this being the end of the regular season, give 2 or 3 of your favorite games that you watched in person or on television.
Okay. I will give 3. So I'll be obvious. Minnesota, Wisconsin was easily my favorite game because I got to storm the fields. That was freaking amazing. Okay. This second one. I'm forgetting one of the teams. Louisville. It was a Thursday night. Crazy freaking fourth quarter.
Louisville
finish.
UCF.
Louisville UCF. That game was freaking insane. No one gave that game enough credit. And then after that, man, there's been so many good games. I liked Red River, but at the same time, it's like You can't really choke that. I don't know what happened to them. It's tough. I liked Michigan State. I feel like that was a really entertaining game. Just any game with Gus Johnson with any sort of stakes, I love watching. So I'll go with Michigan State 3. The end of that Louisville UCF game, so underrated. And then I'll take Paul Bunyan's axe, number 1.
All righty. I'll go. I gotta go. Like probably number 1 for me would be Ole Miss Arkansas, with Arkansas missing the 2-point conversion to win it at the death. Just great game all around. Magnificent, like McEnroe, KJ Jefferson, whole like pretty much every single skill position player in that game played their heart off. Defensive coordinators be damned. By the way, fuck DJ Durkin forever. May he rest in piss. Sorry. To get away from that. Second one, I'll go week 1. I'll go UCF Boise State, mainly because we saw some of the worst interceptions we've ever seen. It was just pretty entertaining. UCF got the full Gus Malzahn experience in one studio game. And then it's kind of hard because Georgia has had 0 really games that were fun to watch, because they were fun to watch for me because my blood pressure is really low. But I, gun to my head, gotta go. It's tough. I mean, Red River is just such an easy answer, but I don't want to do that because it's just so cliche. But Red River, because also we had Oklahoma covering, so it's just easy money for me.
I'll go next. Mine was not the Red River rivalry for other reasons, but number 1, I'm sure Andrew would agree, was Houston versus SMU. Got to storm the field. Amazing experience. Easily number 1 for me. Number 2, I'm going to have to go with Bedlam. That Oklahoma State versus Oklahoma game was crazy. The amount of muff punts and fumbles and quarterback slipping is just you can never turn away because somebody was going to mess up and do something stupid. So I'll pick that one. The third one, there's a lot of good ones. I'm going to have to go with one that's kind of personal. I'm going to go with Arkansas over Texas A&M. I was in Dallas, and I got to go to that game. Whole lot of family from Arkansas. Got to see Texas A&M lose in embarrassing fashion. So I'm going to go with that one as my third favorite.
So number 1 is the exact same as Adam's number 1, SMU at UH. That was a game I've been looking forward to, honestly, since the beginning of the season. Sorry, that game did not that game could not care less if I died in the stands or not, because my blood pressure was just all over the place on that one. Storming the field was always nice. I can't remember last time I was that happy when I was storming that field. It was great. Number 2, another game that I got to see in person where storming the field had occurred. Alabama at A&M. Witnessing Kyle Field being part of that College Station culture. It's a freak show, but it's a damn good time to be in. Number 3, shout out Sickos Committee. UConn Vanderbilt.
Call the hotline.
I am being dead serious. Like, we talk about like terrible football, like Big Ten noon football, like that football it was just such low quality. Tickets there for like $2 to get in. It was just so bad that I actually loved it. I don't know what it was. I just truly loved it. So, number 1, SMU at U of H. Number 2, Alabama at A&M. Number 3, big dive. UConn at Vanderbilt. And plus, UConn plus 15 going into that game. Easy money.
Yeah, I hope it's UConn plus 15. Did they realize they were playing Vanderbilt?
UConn was terrible to start the season, and they didn't even play in 2020. That's why.
Yeah, UConn lost to Holy Cross pretty badly.
Yeah. They both suck.
They do. I think Jim Moore can turn it around though.
I think he can too.
Turning around means like 4 or 5 wins. Like UConn, they're going to be a bad game for a long time. So like that's just not bowls are not in their future. So
Yeah. I mean, they did have a lead on Clemson, so that's something they can take away from the season.
yeah, but that's pre-transfer portal Clemson. Like Dabo realizes you can't operate like it's 2015 now. So
I think Clemson's back next year.
they need offensive line help.
Oh, they
And
do.
if-
Their offensive line sucks.
They need speed outside. Like they need talent in general on offense. Like the defense is fine, but if Venable leaves, then I am not sure where they'll go.
Yeah, that is a tough one.
Yeah.
I don't know what Clemson is going to do. It's going to be something interesting to watch this offseason.
Yeah.
So, does anyone else have anything they want to add? I mean,
Pray for me, y'all. This week is going to be a really, really tough week. A lot of PTSD from the last few times we have faced Alabama. So if you don't hear from me again, at least I'll be tweeting, of course. But if you don't hear from me again on this pod, you know what happened. And yes, I'm not going to face the music. I will not appear if what happened happens.
Cincinnati is getting eliminated from the football playoff contention. December 4th, 3 p.m. We're going to do it again.
Carbon copy what Adam said. Me and my buddies were heading down to the den on the UH campus for the game. It's going to be an exciting time. I am so ready. Marcus Jones is going to seal his Heisman campaign.
Yeah. I'll be in Houston too, so I might join you. I'll be in Houston for.
There you go. I'm pumped for the game. I wholeheartedly, I do not remember the last time I've been this pumped for a UH game, probably since the Peach Bowl. And I know I said that since the I know I said that before the SMU game, but the fact that we got a chance to knock out one of the best wannabe stories of the season in Cincinnati, I am just so ready to absolutely destroy this party for Cincy. By the way, Cincinnati, terrible city. All right, it's northern Kentucky.
How do you feel about Skyline Chili?
Never had it, and from what I've heard, it's terrible. So no, I don't want to try it.
I haven't been, so
I think just chili and spaghetti.
That's literally what it is, apparently.
It sounds disgusting.
I mean, isn't it like when you say Skyline Chili? Are you talking about like the actual restaurant itself, or are you talking about like the actual dish?
Either or.
I mean, because like my family makes chili with like pasta, and it's like I think it's normal, but like people that have been to the Skyline Chili restaurants, they tell me it's terrible.
I don't like chili with pasta. Yeah, do it with rice.
I've been so Texanized lately that I like something that I've noticed, like biggest difference between northern and southern is that northerners they love to put beans in the chili. In the south, I'm like, no, don't put beans in the chili.
Beans are a necessity.
What?
Yes.
Yes.
They're a necessity in chili, yeah.
What's wrong with y'all?
Bro, beans, like at that point, you're just eating beefs too.
Who cares? Okay, I want chili.
Well, then it's not chili.
It is chili.
No, it's not. It's spicy beef stew.
Beans and chili should not be a thing. I never heard of that.
Come to Texas.
Andrew
go to
W is right.
Come to a cook-off here in Texas, like rodeo. Like come here at rodeo time in February and going into March. Tell people at the cookouts that beans belong in chili, and they will think that you're from Oklahoma.
Yeah, I'll try their chili. I'll just have a can of kidney beans in my pocket. I mean,
disgusting human being. Disgusting.
That's wayward behavior.
Beans and beans in your freaking pocket. Are you a fucking sicko or something? I had to get sicko committees in on
You're the one that talked about UConn Vanderbilt, though.
Yeah, Andrew, please close this out because beans in pockets just the worst thing in the history of anything.
Yep, that's what we talk about here on the College Football Podcast. We talk about carrying beans in your pocket to a chili contest in Texas. This has been the Transfer Portal Podcast.
Another
presented by No
great
Context.
out of context bit right there.
Yep. We might need to start that Twitter account soon, or just do whatever with that. Yeah, I mean, if y'all don't have anything else to add, this has been Transfer Portal Podcast presented by No Context CFB. Make sure to follow, subscribe, whatever platform you're on, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, do all that stuff. Follow T Portal CFB on Twitter. You know what? Have a great day. Hope your college football team won.